Question: is there anything at all, that is good when it comes in excess? To that answer, I say only one. But we'll touch on what that one thing is later. For now, let's take a stance and say that everything but that one, which I'll name later, is not good. This includes the Bible. This includes relationships. This includes money. This includes having a spouse, a husband or a wife. This includes food. This includes video games and so forth. Everything, and I mean everything, is very detrimental and has very negative effects to one's psyche, their spirit, their physical, and their mentality. The three parts that make up any and all souls: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. All three get negatively affected when something is used, anything is used, or thought about, or experienced in excess. Now, I'm sure for the Christians out there, at least one of those caught your attention, and it was one of the first ones. If you're still listening, thank you. Now, let's talk about it. How can the Bible, in excess of being in the Bible, be a bad thing? Simple. You don't walk with God. You walk with the Bible if you use the Bible in excess. How can that be so? Isn't the Bible God? Where does it say that? And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Is the Word the Bible? Does the Bible explicitly state that? No. At least not that I can find. So then, where does that idea come from? Again, yet another simple answer. The Word, as we understand it today, is simply a word. So when we say the Word was God, we presume the Bible is talking about itself in the third person. That'd be weird. I'm pretty sure there's no other section that is canonical in the Bible that speaks like that. Now, there might be a section in the Apocrypha. I will admit I'm not too far into my studies on that. But I am aware that in the Old Testament and the New Testament, excluding the apocryphal books, that is the one section where the Bible, or there are only two exceptions where the Bible speaks about itself in the third person. At the very beginning, and at the very end, in Revelations. Genesis and Revelation. And those are the two parts that are the most debated books, in fact. Of course, excluding the more law-type books. But Revelations, where at the very end the addendum was added, most likely by the king who wrote the original Bible back in AD 400 or thereabouts. Anyone who adds to or removes from this book is to be put to death, or something to that degree. So then, was that added by man? Or was that added by the church? Or was that something God wanted added? In truth, I believe all three. But I digress. Back to the things in excess. The Bible in excess is not a relationship, it's not a walk with God. And so, if you worship the Bible, you're not worshiping God. You're worshiping words on a page. You're making a study and you're walking with words that to you have no meaning beyond memorization, or to many at the very least. But then I also mentioned, and I hear you ask, what about relationships? If you have a relationship with God, how can that be in excess? And then I put the counterpoint, because you don't defend yourself against the devil. And to do that, you need to know the Word. You need to know the Bible. But you contradict yourself. How is that the case? Once again, you can't have one without the other. You need a balance. If you have an excess of your relationship with anyone, be it a man, a woman, your child, your best friend, or God, then you neglect yourself. And you can't defend yourself should something happen. And then in reverse, if you focus only on defending yourself, you can't have meaningful relationships with anyone. If you defend yourself and focus solely on survival, then you're putting that above anyone and everyone else, and you can't have relationships. You cannot be a Christian if you focus solely on the Bible. And you cannot live long or stay with God for very long if you focus only on others and never try to help yourself, fix yourself. The old proverb, or perhaps not a proverb, but the old saying that comes from the Bible, take the plank out of your own eye before you try to take the splinter out of the other. And in order to do that, you need to focus and fix yourself before you can focus and fix others. In the same way, if you can't defend yourself from the slings, the arrows, and the verbal insults of Satan, the mental attacks such as anxiety and depression that Satan puts forward, that our own doubts bring forth, then we can't have a relationship with God because we're constantly in pain. We can try to hide it. We can try to distract ourselves from it. But ultimately, that just bottles it up until it gets to a point where it explodes and relationships are ruined. Believe me here. I learned that from multiple hard experiences. That was a lesson God ingrained in me, personally, very deeply. It was not fun. Moving on. The same with food. Food in excess makes one grow fat. Same way with relaxing. Relaxing too much makes you become lazy, slothful, and makes it difficult for you to really get anything done. Be it chores, be it a job, be it your own health. Alcohol. In excess, you become a drunkard. But a few sips here and there won't get you tipsy. It's when you go above a certain amount, presuming you're not a lightweight, that you become tipsy. And by that point, you become drunk. And that is not a sin, but it's a temptation to sin. And it makes it all the more difficult to stay true to God, as it takes away your inhibitions. Simply put, inebriated. Moving on. Now, that one thing that I said is an exception. the one and only thing that in excess is good. I know you've been waiting. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not really sorry, but I know you've been waiting, so I'm going to give you the answer. Love. Now, I'm not talking about human love. I'm not talking about sex. I'm not talking about your best friend love. I'm not talking about paternal or maternal love towards their child or a child to their parent. I'm talking about God's love for us. And the same love that we get from God, that never-ending, never-ceasing, ever-growing, reckless love of God. That, in excess, is always there. And we can tap into that. And we can emulate that as much as we want, as much as we desire, and as much as we can. And the thing is, we as humans, created in God's image, have the potential to do just that, to perfectly emulate God's love. Now, we're human. We're born into sin, and more often than not, the very first sin people commit is either lie or petty theft, greed or envy. Those are normally one of the first 4 sins that human beings, when they're infants, no less, commit. Baba, Baba, when you're asking for your bottle. Before you can even speak, you're getting greedy. When you're able to speak, normally one of the first things that happens when you get caught doing something, or when you're trying to do something and before you commit it, one of the first things you do is grab a sweet. You steal a cookie from the cookie jar. You pick up a penny in the street and you say, "Mommy, Mommy, look, I found some money." Or whatever it is, whatever it was. I almost guarantee you, this was before you were able to realize that it was wrong. We as humans are born into sin. That we cannot change. And we as humans sin even when we're still infants, as that sin is ingrained into our hearts. But we can learn, we can grow, we can mature. That's what childhood is for. That's what the teenage years are all about. And when you become a young adult, heck, even when you're in your 30s and 40s, when you're technically middle-aged, and even when you're a senior, you still learn, you still grow. That never stops. Doesn't matter what level of or stage in life you are. You will always learn more. You will always grow more. And you always have more and more potential to more perfectly emulate God's love. The love that God shows you, you can show others. It just takes your determination, your spirit, your will, and your dependency on Jesus Christ as your supporter, and God the Father, the King of all things, and the one who created all. Your Father God. He's the one who will help you out there. He's the one who will guide you and show you by His example to you how to do it right. And so, in excess, no thing is good except for God's love, as it knows no bounds, and we can never perfectly emulate it, though we can certainly get close. And the reason we can't do it perfectly? Because we were kids once, and we were born into sin, and we've all committed at least one sin in our lives. That's why we can't perfectly emulate God's love. But we can get pretty close. All we got to do is try and believe in God and trust His Son. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed that. Feel free to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'll be trying to put one out every week, somewhere between Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And I look forward to having you watch me again, or more accurately, listen. I gotta get a face cam. Until next time, God bless, and I wish you all the best.